Hi there, I'm Atena from Learning English with Atena. Today we are talking about English articles. Those little tiny but super important words that you will need to use in almost every English sentence. There are two types of articles in English, definite and indefinite. Today we're going to focus on the indefinite articles, and that is a and. You'll see that when my next video comes out, it is a deep dive into the definite article, the. So make sure you're subscribed, that you turn on notifications so that you don't miss out. Let's get into the first one. Okay, in this lesson, I have 4 simple rules to help you use indefinite articles accurately. I'm also going to show you how to pronounce a and naturally when you speak. Let's start with the basics. There are 2 indefinite articles, a and. But do you know when and why we used to use each one? We use a with nouns that begin with a consonant sound. A cat, a mirror, a leather, a book. All of these nouns start with a consonant. C, M, L, B. We use an before nouns that begin with a vowel sound. An apple, an ice cream, an orange, an umbrella. But there is something super important that you need to remember here. And that is that we're talking about vowel and consonant sounds, not letters. I know it sounds crazy, but not all vowel letters are pronounced as vowel sounds. And some consonant letters are actually silent and they are not pronounced at all. Let me show you what I mean. University, umbrella. So the U in university is pronounced U, university, as if it's written with the consonant letter Y. That sound Y. We say university. So the article we use is a university. And now the U in umbrella is pronounced a, umbrella. So this time the U is pronounced as a vowel sound. So we need to use an umbrella. It's the same with these 2 examples, orange and one-off event. So the O in orange is pronounced O. That is a vowel sound. And orange. But the O in one is pronounced with a consonant sound W. So we need to use a one-off event. Got it? The same thing happens with consonants that are silent or they're pronounced as a vowel sounds. Like in hour, where the H is silent. The first sound in hour is a vowel sound, so we say an hour. Now, if you compare that to hand, where the H is not silent, a hand, we hear that sound. We've talked about how articles are used before nouns. Well, sometimes we use other words in front of a noun like this adjective. The article that you choose relates to the word that comes directly after it in a sentence. So we say an hour, but a happy hour. An umbrella, but a wet umbrella. Does that make sense? If you're not sure, you can always use a good dictionary to tell you how a word is pronounced correctly. Whether or not the first sound is a consonant or a vowel sound. How to pronounce a and an. As if we're talking about pronunciation in naturally spoken English, we pronounce this as a or a, not a. And we say n, not an. A cat, not a cat. An apple, not an apple. So now let's get stuck into the juicy stuff, the rules. When do we use these articles? A, an, with singular countable nouns. Rule number 1. Use the indefinite article with singular countable noun. In many languages, the indefinite article is actually just the number 1. There is one book on the table. In English, it is much more common and more natural to use a or an instead of one. Sure, one is used, but generally it's used to emphasize that something is singular and not plural. If you're not sure whether or not to use the indefinite article, it can be really helpful to think about it by replacing a or an with the number 1. A book, one book. It's the same thing. But if the noun is plural or it is an uncountable noun, we can't use it with the number 1, can we? So we also can't use it with an indefinite article. Rule number 2. Use the indefinite article to introduce something for the first time. To show you what I mean here, we're going to read a little story together. It's very quick. I saw a woman yesterday. The woman was sitting under a tree. The tree was very tall. The woman reached out to touch a cat. The cat jumped on a wall to try and catch a bird, but the bird flew off the wall. Notice that each time we introduce a new noun into the story, we use the indefinite article a or an. But the next time we refer to the same noun, we use the definite article the. The indefinite article helps us to talk generally about a noun. A woman is one of many. It could be any of them. There are many women on the planet. The woman helps us to be specific about which woman we're talking about. Sometimes it's already clear or it's obvious which noun we are referring to. So we can actually introduce a noun for the first time using the. The good news is that my next lesson here on YouTube will be all about the. So make sure you're subscribing and that you paid attention to the next lesson that I release. It's gonna couple with this one nicely and give you a complete overview of article in English. Rule number 3. We use a or an when describing something that is not specific. I've got a little tip to help you here, to help you understand this rule. If you can replace a or an with any, you're not being specific. So let's say you walk into a bakery and you say, I'd like a piece of cake, please. Well, you know it is a bakery and it's the morning. There is a whole cake there. And let's say there are 8 or there's 10 pieces of cake there. You haven't said which exact piece of cake you want. You say, I'll have a piece of cake. I'll have any piece of cake. It's not important which exact piece it is as long as I get a piece of cake. If there was more than one type of cake, you might want to specify what type of cake you want. A piece of chocolate cake or a piece of walnut cake, right? I have another example for you. We found a key on the ground. So it is a random key. The type of key is not clear. There was just any old key on the ground. But you compare that with the car key was on the ground, or the house key was on the ground, or my keys were on the ground. In all of these examples, I talked about a specific type of key. And in that case, we can't replace the or my with any. Alright? Because we are being specific. Rule number 4. Use a or an with jobs and job titles. In English, when we want to describe what someone does for a living, we use a or an with the job title. I'm a teacher. He is an engineer. Lucy's a scientist. Daniel's a nurse. Why do we need these articles? Because there are millions of teachers and scientists and nurses all over the world. Lucy is just one of many scientists. So unless you are describing a specific job that is unique to one person, then we use a or an as the job title. The exception to this rule is when there is only one of these roles. So in that case, we would use the. Elizabeth is the Queen of England. That is because there is only one Queen of England. There is only one President of the United States. So when an American says the President, you can assume that they are talking about the only guy in their country that has that job. There is one mistake that I often hear some students making with indefinite articles. He's a busy man. She's intelligent woman. That is a very expensive car. Do you know what's wrong with these sentences? Sometimes where there is an adjective before the noun, it's easy to forget about the article. But in English this is wrong. We don't use adjectives instead of articles. We use them in addition to articles. So they come between the article and the noun. He is a busy man. She is an intelligent woman. That is a very expensive car. Alright? You made it through to the end of the lesson. I hope that you feel really good about using the indefinite articles now and that you've learned something new. Something that you can put into practice. If you've got a question or you just want to say hello, drop me a comment down below the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so that you find out when the next video is released. I'll see you in there. Bye!